There he is. Oh my god! Good day there, once again viewers, this is your mate Kamikaze78 here, coming to you guys with some more Modern Warfare content. So guys, the game's been out for a little bit over a week now, and there have certainly been some weapons that have quickly risen to the top of their respective categories. Some rightfully so, and some not so rightfully so. And yes, I'm looking at you 725, you busted ass piece of devil spawn shotgun bullshit. Anyway, I think this is mainly due to the fact that there is so much progression behind each weapon now to unlock all of its attachments that people just tend to stick to what they know because, you know, they're still unlocking stuff for it, and they're also just used to it, which is great and all. But today, I want to go over some of the options in the Modern Warfare arsenal that I think are hidden gems. Weapons that people are really ignoring more than I think they should be, and weapons that I think, once you put a bit more work into them, they've really become true powerhouses on the battlefield. And yes, you could probably do better with an M4A1, an MP5, or hell, even a 725 if you're feeling that cheesy, but I am also a true believer in a little bit of variety to spice up life, so these are a few weapons that I've been enjoying lately and have appeared into my must-pick list for certain situations. So, let's get into it. Firstly, I want to start off with the FN Scar 17. This has always been a favourite weapon of mine in games in general. The weapon has traditionally always carried a devastating payload with a corresponding recoil kick to boot, and the weapon in this game is absolutely no exception. This weapon kicks like a mule that is on steroids, and will more often than not demand that you burst your shots just to make sure that you don't end up looking at the sun until you get some more attachments on it. But oh boy, you can typically down someone hard and fast with it if you're accurate, especially over longer distances. As I said before, I know that people typically tend to stick with the M4A1 because it's easy as hell to use, but the Scar provides a challenge in the form of the recoil and a reward in the form of a devastating time to kill at longer ranges. Hell, in CQC, you can get some serious work done on the condition that you don't hipfire. Hipfiring with this weapon is very sloppy, and the slower end rate of fire means that by missing a shot, your enemy will have more time to take advantage of your misplaced shots. So, in order to go toe-to-toe, practice keeping your crosshair on target and making every shot count. When it comes to my current loadout on the weapon to make it, you know, where it is today, I found that the Scout Combat Optic, the Merc Forward Grip, the 25 round magazines, muzzle brake, and the granulated grip tape on the rear grip is a fairly solid build. It's a build that mainly focuses on giving it a little bit more oomph on the range side of things by reducing the recoil and giving further clarification at range, and I typically prefer other weapons for a more CQC field of engagement, but damn, the Scar is a hell of a fun weapon to use in the right situations. Definitely more or less for holding down those domination choke points and for really defending those capture points. That's where I've had the most amount of success with this weapon for sure. Now, let's move on from the big and busty boy that is the Scar down to the more petite and delicate Uzi. Guys, this weapon has been a long-term element of the Call of Duty games, and I've got to be honest, I've never really been a fan of the weapon in previous games at all, but I figured I'd give it a go here in this game, and after a few upgrades, I've got to say, I've been really enjoying the gun. When modded correctly, it can be a solid piece of work, and I feel as though after some work that I've gotten it into a sweet spot, fitting it out mainly for aiming down sights accuracy and damage over range, which is something that most SMGs, barring the AUG, kinda don't look at doing. I will admit that out of the box, the MP5 is going to be slightly better overall, but yes, the Uzi can be turned into a really snappy and accurate PDW that I've learned to like, and it's one of those weapons that can be quite devastating in close quarters, carrying just a little bit more damage per shot over something like the MP5, but can be extended out to a further range, I feel. As of right now, I kind of see it as a middle ground between the MP5's CQC prowess and the AUG's medium focus in the SMG world. And that makes for a very interesting experience that sees it be more or less the master of none, jack of all trades kind of weapon. I've seen it to be very effective in any fast-paced game mode where I need to be capturing capture points, but also looking at defending certain points as well. Interestingly enough, even before being fitted for ADS accuracy, I will say the weapon does not perform best with hipfire. It's similar to the Scar in the sense that it really can't support hip firing primarily thanks to the slower rate of fire, which is less forgiving if you miss your shots. So making your shots count is absolutely key here. As a result, I've mounted a 13.1 first responder barrel, the Forge Tac ultralight stock, the muzzle brake, Merc forward grip, and the Viper reflex sight, which is all about providing quick target acquisition, all at a range further than you'd expect our good old Uzi to be normally good at. I mean, if you take a look back towards previous COD games, the Uzi has always been typically a weapon you'd mount a Kimbo onto and start dual wielding like no tomorrow, but in this game I've kind of modded it into a medium range PDW. But hey, that's the joy of the Frankenstein modding system that is the gunsmith system, so I'm going to abuse the shit out of it if I can. And next up is an interesting weapon to say the least, the SA-87. Imagine this to be the awkward standout LMG that isn't really an LMG. I think that's the main reason people don't tend to pick up this weapon. It's fairly cumbersome, fairly slow to move around with, but it's only got a 30 round magazine, so why use it? Well, because it hits like a motherfucking truck, that's why. I mean, for a 5.56 weapon, this thing is devastating. And not to mention it, because it's only got that 30 round magazine, it does have the fastest reload in the LMG category. So I do see a lot of people sort of turn their heads away from this weapon, treating it like an LMG and not really getting the most out of it. This is sort of a very cumbersome, heavy form AR. The kind of AR you'd use sitting back and again on a really defensive and passive playstyle. And I know this is COD, I know traditionally you're meant to get in there and just push the enemy shit in, balls to the wall kind of gameplay, but I'm all for a little bit of sitting back and taking things slowly, and that's really what this weapon handles quite well. And I gotta tell you, the one issue you're gonna face here with this gun is recoil. For a 5.56 weapon, this weapon kicks like a mule, but if you put the right attachments on there, you can really minimize that recoil and make it a true laser beam as well. It becomes a stupidly accurate weapon. On my one, I've got a muzzle brake, Merc forward grip, SA-87 25.4 inch factory barrel, rubberized grip tape on the rear grip, and a Celezo Optics mini reflex. Now, this is all very much designed, again, for quick target acquisition and for increased damage over range, which allows the weapon to sort of sit back and still touch people out at a further distance. I've been able to score some devastating damage with this gun overall in the right situation. Now, on top of that, one weapon that I was really trying to put onto this, hidden gems list was the UBR-14, the first Marksman rifle yet, because I've actually had some fairly decent success with that thing. But, and there is a very unfortunate but here associated with this weapon, it does require a significant amount of accuracy to use. If you are accurate, you can actually look at one-shotting headshot people, which is fantastic. But the amount of screen shake in the game, and the amount of jitteriness, and the requirement to get a little bit closer with this weapon, as opposed to what you would with a standard sniper rifle, means that it can throw your aim off quite quickly, and it's actually quite difficult to get kills with it sometimes. So I think if they were to reduce the screen shake from explosions just a tad in this game and bring it down to a more acceptable level, I think I'd be able to throw the EBR-14 onto this list. I tried to use it in a game of Ground War and in other game modes as well, and whenever I faced any sort of screen shake at all, it just became unusable. So yeah, I don't know. I would love to put it on the list, but it needs a bit more work in another, like, the weapon itself doesn't need the work, it's just other aspects of the game that require the work first before I can throw it on the list. But either way, guys, still a good fun weapon if you're willing to, suffer through that unbearable screen shake from time to time. Anyway, guys, that kind of wraps up today's video. I really just wanted to take some time to throw some light onto some weapons that I feel as though are kind of missing out on the spotlight a bit thanks to the domination of the M4A1 and the 725. I'm actually going to do a video soon discussing the overpowered weapons of Call of Duty and how I think they can be tweaked into a more reasonable state. If you guys enjoyed today's video, backhand that like button, and if you guys want to see more content from me, I'm planning on doing a lot of Call of Duty Modern Warfare content because I am loving the game so far, including full-fledged weapon reviews. Be sure to backhand that subscribe button whilst you're at it. If you feel the need to want to support the channel even further, a Patreon link is in the description down below where you can go ahead and support me on a monthly basis. All patrons do get a shout out at the end of every video as well, guys. But beyond that, guys, once again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace out, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.